Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 51. Quick note for you. So today I just had a big update for OBS, and it messed up my audio. So I'm re-recording the voiceover. It's going to be a little different presentation compared to other episodes, but full content and the game audio was fine. First things first, I decided that it was time to start handling contracts. I have 4 expiring contracts. 2 staff, 2 driver contracts that are expiring, and it's time to start handling those at least one by one. So the first up is, and I'm thinking of renewal for at least 3 out of 4. And anyway, the first one is Jago, and we're going to spend a little bit of time here going through negotiations with him, and they're coming together fairly quickly. 3 out of 4 things he's happy on, but he declines. But that's a good start to negotiations. We're going to bump up. This is just money up front. 60K. He's okay. He's content with it. And he still declines the contract, which is ridiculously annoying. But I know we're not far off now. So I'm going to add 25,000 on top of that. And even though he's still content with it, this time around, it's enough to get the contract over the line. So we have 1 out of 4 contracts now taken care of, just 3 remaining. Side pod. Upgrade done. We have another project that's going to be done here soon. But remember that we are in that part where we've bumped up to top 4, and you lose a lot of time in the wind tunnel as a result. However, just a quick note, the time we lost from going from 9th up to 4th in the constructors is significantly more than what Red Bull lost for breaching regulations and overspending a year ago. 2 days later, we also have a chassis upgrade that is complete. I cannot do a new upgrade for either one. However, it's just 5 days from the first upgrade, 2 days from the second upgrade, away from that new period. So we will get into new upgrades here shortly enough. We just have that little delay. I'm also taking the time to reconsider how I'm going to approach this, now knowing that, hey, we have less time on our hands, not by a wide margin, but it does change things. I cannot just roll upgrade after upgrade after upgrade. So for the new upgrade, the suspension upgrade, now that we're into the new period here, I've made an important decision. We have a little less time to deal with, so I'm going to go for 3 major upgrades. You can see that suspension is the first one, and I'm going maximum. Costs a little bit more for that upgrade, but we are putting everything into it. Also, my allocation for the wind tunnel for that time, I'm dividing it into 3 for the period. So 3 equal parts, and that is going to be suspension, side pods, and what's our other one? Chassis. So those 3 parts are going to get 1 big upgrade through this period. Like I said, divided equally into 3 different parts. Now for this first one, the other 2, I don't have parts ready manufactured. Those are the 2 upgrades that just finished in the last 5 days, so neither one's ready to go. So the suspension, okay, right off the bat, we'll get into that. I'm going to assign a few extra engineers. I'm going to put 6 engineers on this one up front. Right after our next race weekend, I'm going to have the time to get the second one on the go. By that point, I'll have at least 1 part manufactured, so no worries there. And then we'll get the third one going soon after. And I'll start 2 and 2 on those. Once the suspension upgrade is done, I'll be able to, take those 6 and reallocate them. It'll make 5 and 5. So we'll be done well before the end of the period. No problem. No worries. This does see a little bit of progress for us up the grid. In the suspension, we've been dead last. Brake cooling was the only thing that wasn't. It's still only above one other team, but at least the low speed and medium speed will finally move up a spot. So we're finally getting out of the back end of the grid where we always were. Remember, Williams, right? We were last in everything. We were slower than Aston Martin. We just happened to edge them out most of that first season. Late in the year, we started to push just ahead of them. Anyway, it's only 320K, even with pushing it to the maximum that we could get on it.
We're in the state of year-round summer. It's the Miami Grand Prix, and we're here in Florida at the Miami International Autodrome. The streets of Miami Gardens will come alive with the roar of racing, and the excitement is only just beginning. Spectacle is the name of the game here in Miami, with a stadium at the heart of this track. With long straights and S-bends, not unlike Suzuka's Sector 1, proper ERS management is sure to give drivers an edge towards victory. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. Let's get this underway.
Following practice, we've got Porsche high acclimatization. Albin actually did pretty well, getting up to 79%. Car parts knowledge for first time ever, actually. I decided that Porsche has fairly equal pace to Albin now. These two are neck and neck all the time. And as a result, Albin's always had new parts first. This time, I gave one to Porsche first. He has the new side pods only. He's at 90% on the car parts knowledge with that. Setup confidence, though, we only managed to get to 93% on both drivers. It was a little bit trickier here. We got wings down pretty quick, but getting the rest down, just not the easiest thing to do here in Miami, it turns out. And we're on to qualifying. This is going to be a little bit sped up. This is going to be a little different experience this episode with the re-recording of audio, and especially as late as I am doing this right now. But anyway, Q1, late but awkward timing. We are coming up on traffic right now because the weather report suggested that all of a sudden it's gonna rain. So we're coming up behind a Haas here, and it got a little dicey there for a second, but ultimately was okay. We were P6, P7, and then with everybody else running a little bit later, we dropped to P10, P11, but it was pretty okay. On to Q2. This time we're definitely getting the Baker lap just in case, with the weather going a little different than predicted. Our first session was good enough for P8, P9 on the used set. So that's not bad. P8, P9 on the used set. So we're going to make our final run here, and that's P6 for Porsche, and Albin is going to take over that spot by 2/1000ths. So we go P6, P7 in Q2. And now setting up our run in Q3. We are on the out lap right now. We just completed our first lap, and it was on the used set, as it was not supposed to rain. It was not supposed to rain for this session at all. So we went out on the used set where everybody else went on the fresh set. And so we were a couple tenths down from where we would normally be. And at the moment, that's P8 and P9. I'm going to skip ahead. Unfortunately, Q3 did not go according to plan because rain that was not predicted to happen came. Now, it impacted Ricardo. Ricardo never got a good lap in, so he's P10. But because of the rain, lap times just got worse. So we never got a clean run. Now, the only good news from that is I save a set of soft tires for the race, possibly. The race is supposed to be dry, but it does mean we are going to start a little bit further down in P8 and P9. It's a couple spots lower than expected, really, is all. So it's not a bad thing necessarily. It could have even been a 7-8 scenario, so we'll be okay. But it did impact us a bit. Bad timing.
Drivers are strapping themselves in, ready for race day.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. This weekend, Red Bull displayed promise during qualifying. Now they need to capitalize on their grid position and get a good race under their belts. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
The Autodrome is ready for some serious action today here at the Miami Grand Prix. We have beautiful blue skies overhead as the drivers line up on the grid. Here we have Alexander Albon. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. And looking at the second Williams car, with a top 10 position on the grid, this race could really go either way for them. And we're just moments away now. And this is it, the Miami Grand Prix. It's lights
And we're
out,
racing
and
here
away we
in
go.
Miami. Now this is going to be a totally different experience. We'll see how it goes. I have sped up parts. I've already made the edits. Now I'm just doing the voiceover over it. Okay, medium to hard, one-stop strategy. And this way you're actually also getting audio coverage as I do go through and carry on with the race during the sped up parts. Audio's blanked on that game audio, so you don't hear the whole time. But anyway, here's my strategy. I went really light on fuel, 2 laps light on fuel, so that we could be a little bit faster off the line, but make the tires last, because stretching the tires was going to be really hard. But right off the beginning, I look at everybody's strategy and find that Sainz and Alonso, who were starting ahead of us, were both on the hard compound. We really needed to get past those two to keep up with the front 5, because it seems like Gasly and an Aston Martin should be a car I can keep up with. The Aston Martin has been fairly quick. They've been scoring points this season. They already have 5 points this season. They are competitive. But Norris is also somebody in the McLaren. It's like, I feel like I should be able to keep up with them. So here in the early laps, I'm pushing. And here we are now making a move on Sainz. And that's Pourchaire trying to get past him into P6. He's not going to get him initially, and then he backs off. I hate how the game does that, where you're clear side by side, no reason to back off, but then you tuck in anyway. But we're going to get right back up on him, close. We've got the DRS now, and we're going to see if it's enough. And actually and here's that key part, right? He's off Gasly. He is not in DRS range because he's on that hard compound. So we're going to push hard. We're going to get up beside him. We're still side by side, but we're going to have a lengthy right-hander here and see some sparks fly. I think we actually had light contact, but we do eventually get by him as we go through the chicane and into the backstretch. So that is Pourchaire up to P6. Albon currently running P8, but we are way pushing the fuel. And we are definitely pushing the tires harder than we need to or want to. And Albon is now the one looking to try to get past Sainz here. But there's an incident on the track, and it is Schumacher who's going to lock up and take his wing off on the wall. So Schumacher, it's going to ruin his race. He's going to end up having a pit, and that's going to slow him down massively. He's never going to regain pace either. Schumacher is going to be well off throughout. But Albon still, meanwhile, trying to push and get past Sainz, and he does so there. So that is now Albon up into P7. We're going to get him to back off now as well. So that's P6, P7, and with Alonso already behind us, that is both of those hard compound guys now behind us. We can settle in. We're at 81 and 80%, where those around us are about 3 to 5% better on the tire wear, which is not good. We are going to have to refill batteries, so this is the strategy for the next stint, is get the batteries refilled. Meanwhile, Albon goes backwards. Sainz gets back past him as we do so. Pourchaire, meanwhile, is battling back and forth with Gasly. Gasly, 2.5 seconds off the guys in front. So you have a train of 4, and then we have a train beginning with Gasly, and then Pourchaire, Sainz, and Albon, and Ricciardo on the hard compound has fallen off as well. So they are much further back than we are from the leaders. Leclerc, the leader, not that far ahead, but we're going pretty quick through this period of time where I'm not too worried about our position. We are conserving tires where we can. We are refilling battery where we can. And then we're just neutral on the fuel. But here is an opportunity for Albon to move ahead of Gasly. And why? Because, well, Gasly's falling back and lost that 1 second gap. So I think that actually might have been Albon who lost it there for a little bit. So we're pushing to get back ahead of Gasly, and we've got to restore our 1 second gap to get back into DRS range on those ahead at 1.5 seconds. That I saying is Pourchaire was the one leading the way. So Albon just had to push for a little bit, and he gets back out there. But with Sainz getting ahead of us, this is almost ideal. Sainz in the Ferrari, even though he's on the hard compound, he's fast. So now I'm just conserving with both guys, trying to extend their stint as long as possible, waiting for others. Ocon was the first to pit. He goes early on a two-stopper strategy, but we are remaining close to the front runners here and using signs, absolutely using signs to extend our stint as long as possible. We're now one lap away from where we should, and Verstappen, besides Ocon, is the first to pit. So he's going to come out in P13, but he regains P12 almost immediately off pit road. So P12 is where he came out at. So that gives us a good indicator on where we might be. A lap later, it's the optimal pit stop lap, but we're going to stay out at least one more lap. We're at 31%, but as long as we are getting DRS from Sainz, who's on the hard compound, knowing he's going to stay out longer, take advantage of that opportunity. And you can see 4 more guys pitting, including front runners. Hamilton, Leclerc are still there, and then Sainz. But again, I am taking full advantage of the fact that we are in a little mini DRS train with Sainz. Leclerc, Hamilton, both pit. Now Sainz is the leader, and we are running P2 and P3. So at this stage, I'm looking at the fact that we're at 28% going, okay, we're slow. And we could no longer conserve. We're having to push a little bit harder to keep up with him. But as long as we are, it's fine. And then all of a sudden, Sainz peels off into the pits. He's doing a two-stopper with the hard compound as his starting tire. So it's like, okay, mind blown. Didn't see that coming. Did not see him pitting as soon. And I can't double stack. Because, we're too close together. That's too much time loss. So Albon's the one behind. And I'm like, okay, his tire wear is a little bit worse, just barely. And he's the one behind. And I was always planning on Albon being the first one to go. So I decide full attack with Albon and going in. So he actually ends up pulling around Pourchaire on his in-lap anyway. So I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Giving tow to our guy. It's lap 27. We've got 30 laps to go. And that's hard compound, and we've done 27 on the mediums. So, that's good. That's going to give us some extra tire life in this race down the stretch. So really happy about the situation we're in. Just not so happy about the fact that Sainz pitted as early as he did. Really kind of throwing a wrench in the spokes of my plan there a bit. But it's one lap for Albon without Sainz giving us that tow. So Albon pulls into the pits for his one and only stop of this race as we go from the medium to the hard compound, and he's out in 2.67 seconds. Where will he come out at? That looks like P9. Or is it P8? Here comes Ocon, who pits super early. And Ocon, who was behind us, does succeed in getting the undercut, but he's going to be P8. You can see he's at 77% when we've got brand new hard compound tires. He's not going to make the distance. So never mind that Ocon's there. We could use him for tow. So Pourchaire is going to come in a lap later. And where does he come out at? 2 laps without tow. It's going to bring him out in P9 behind Ocon. Albon actually got around Ocon immediately without pushing. Pourchaire, 2.5 seconds back. We need that DRS. So we are going to go aggressive. We are going to use the overtake to try to drag ourselves back towards the front two. And Albon easily passed Ocon, so... and is staying ahead of him, even though the DRS is in Ocon's favor. So I figure Pourchaire with a little push could get up there, and he does within a lap. So 1 lap, maybe 2, and we drug ourselves back up there. Now, the extra lap that we had was spent to pull that back, but at least we're in the DRS now. And then Ocon's with us, and I'm not worried about Ocon at all, because I know he's going to have a second stop. But big crash here, and we just went past an Aston Martin. We're going to see the replay of this in just a second. What happened to Pierre Gasly here in the Aston Martin? And you can see as he goes around the long left-hander, he gets back on the gas a little hard, a little early, turns it around, puts the gearbox into the wall. He is super lucky to get going again and only be 3.5 seconds behind us. But the key is he's behind us. So that's now P6 and P8 for us. Sainz is ahead. He's on mediums, but he's looking like he's going to have a two-stopper at this stage. And then Ocon in between us, he's going to have a two-stopper. As for the front four, it's iffy. They pit a few laps earlier, Verstappen especially, but they might make it. They could make it, but we're going to settle in. Now, speaking of settling in, we've got some fuel issues. Now, running neutral for a long time took our 3.7, and Hamilton spins and does the same thing, but he comes out ahead of us. So we're 3 seconds behind Hamilton, by the way. Now lap 40. We are going conserve for a long period here on the fuel side. We went from 3.7 to 2.7 on the deficit. Remember, we underfueled by 2 laps. But 40 laps in, we were still quite a bit off until there's an incident. There's an incident here with Vettel going wide and smacking the wall really hard. Not just breaking the wing, but the entire front nose cone, damaging the car to the point where he is out of the race. Or is he out of the race? I think he's out of the race. Yes, he is out of the race. And it's going to bring out full safety car here on lap 42. For a fraction of a second, I thought about pitting, but it was like, no. Track position matters way too much here. So we're going to stay out. We're going to conserve until we go and prepare to go green again at the beginning of lap 45. But we are still at a fuel deficit 1.2 and 0.9 kilograms below what we need, and just a dozen laps to go. That's scary. So even though we are P5 and P6 right now, the fuel situation is worrying. And we have that extra tire life compared to those ahead of us. So Albon is pushing to try to get around Hamilton. We are going to use attack. We're going to use the overtake. And I think in a second we're just trying to time this, right? And we're going to see if we can't get around him. But
let's close this gap.
With the fuel where it is, we're not going on conserve right now, but we are definitely afraid to push. We cannot push with the engine. So can we make an overtake without the engine turned up? First zone, nothing. DRS not yet active as we just went green anyway. So this is just straight overtake by trying to attack while we are close. Backstretch now. We're going to look inside. No, we're going to head outside and just kind of tuck in behind for now. And Corsair be well. Yeah, conserve. He's further behind on the fuel by a fair bit, so he's going to have to conserve. We are up beside Hamilton. We are to the inside. We are half a car length ahead, and we are going to complete the overtake. There you go. We got around Hamilton, and that is all the way up to P4 with under 10 laps to go. Great place to be. Now we definitely need to go conserve neutral. And back to neutral on the tires. We still have that little bit extra on the tire wear too. So that was good. Hamilton's mistake earlier bumped him down from P2 to P4, and now we get him behind us, bringing him down to P5. Now, Corsair, back to conserve. We're going back and forth. He needed to get close enough to make sure he had DRS when it went live, and conserve. We need to do the same for Albon. But Albon, we're trying to keep within that 1 second. So aggressive to close it up. Overtake to close it up. We'll hold off on the fuel a little bit longer, but I'm so nervous about it at this stage. And we have about 9 laps to go.
Just use the overtake.
I want to put on conserve. But we're 0.8, 0.9. We've got DRS, I think. Now inside 0.8, down to about 3/4 of a second, but it's still not quite safe and secure. Even Corsair, who has the fastest lap at the moment.
Lift and coast level 3.
Lift and coast. That definitely closed it up. Half a second. So, okay. That's, sigh of relief that we are secure in the DRS and are working on conserving the fuel. Now half a kilogram, but it's going to be hard to go forward I'm hoping to get the McLaren here, potentially before the end of the race, down to 0.2. 8 laps ago, Hamilton gets around Pourchaire. Pourchaire actually was trying to overtake and just never could complete the move. But that is... Oh no, Sainz goes past. So Pourchaire drops to P7. Perez almost had him there for a second, but he recovers that one. But the fuel,
VSC.
neutral.
VSC.
And then a VSC comes out. Virtual safety car is out. Will the race finish under this virtual safety car? There's only a few laps to go. Stroll crashes. So Stroll is the one to crash. He was near the back of the grid anyway. He's all the way down in P18 now following that one. Guan Yu Zhou is going to pit. Under the virtual safety car, he smacks his car into the wall and takes off his front wing. But VSC is helping us conserve some fuel here. So now that we had just barely gotten net positive on the fuel, suddenly, as the virtual safety car is ending here late on lap 54, race is not done yet. We've conserved tires and plenty of fuel till the end of the race, especially with just a few laps to go. So we are going to go engine up. We've also got full batteries, just about full batteries, and some spare tire. So we're going to go attack. Albon already up beside Norris. He's going to go to the inside. Can he complete the move?
3 laps remaining of the race.
He's just about ahead. And he does complete the move. That is P3 Albon onto the podium with less than 3 laps to go. Meanwhile, Pourchaire is around Hamilton. He's in P6. Here is the replay of that move as he's going to come same place where we made the move on Norris. Pourchaire behind was making the exact same move on Hamilton. Remember, the Mercedes is rather slow this year. Quite a bit off the pace. And that is now P3 and P6. So we've got a podium. We've already gained a position with each driver. And we are a little over 2.5 laps to go. Albon quickly closing up on the front 2 ahead as we continue to push. We may not be done yet making moves, but that tire wear is definitely getting pretty low. The one to watch out for is Sainz. Sainz on the medium compound. He is coming up quickly on Norris, and Pourchaire is 1.7 behind Sainz. So for Pourchaire, we're looking, well, P6 might be about it. But already we just gained half a second, at least 0.4 of a second. We're not that far from DRS, but without it, it's going to be a struggle to continue to come forward. Albon, though, beautifully positioned here in P3. Checking in on Pourchaire. We are still managing. We didn't lose anything down that straight, even though we didn't have DRS. We entered at 1.4, we came out at 1.4. Well, not really by the time we come around that final turn. And it opened up a bit. But we got a great exit and get within a second. And meanwhile, Albon coming up on Verstappen in P2, Leclerc in P1, and Leclerc is going to drop 2 positions in 1 quarter as we follow Verstappen through into P2.
And a new position just gained by Williams.
We've got a lap and a half to go, and we are P2. Meanwhile, Pourchaire, 1.3 down, so he gets a little bit closer this time. Albon running P2, having a look to the outside of Verstappen. And we are side by side. Still side by side. And we take the race lead. Now can we hang on to it? We have plenty of fuel to push on.
That's good.
Pourchaire still P6. However, he is now less than a second behind Norris as Sainz has already gone around Norris now. And Pourchaire is going to get in DRS range. That's going to be different. He had a hard time catching up. That was without DRS. Now that we have DRS, it might be a very different story. Albon goes defend and kind of backs himself into Verstappen a little bit there and then gets a good exit. And Pourchaire gets around Norris. Didn't take long. He's up to P5.
This will be the last
Lap of the race. Last lap of the race. Pourchaire now in P5, and Albon is 0.8 of a second ahead of Verstappen, pulling away. 0.9 of a second away. Where Pourchaire is closing up on Sainz, but Sainz on the medium compound is a different story compared to the other guys.
Let's go push. Yep, sure.
More than a second ahead for Albon. He is going to win this thing. He is going to win this thing. Full attack to get that out to the second. Trying to get away, and he is at 1.1. Verstappen will not get DRS. Leclerc in third, close behind Sainz, very close to his teammate, and here comes Pourchaire. Pourchaire is going to go up the inside of Sainz and Leclerc. He's going to go right between them. 3 wide here. Holy cow. 3 wide. Pourchaire. My goodness, he's into P3. Let's see that replay. Coming down the straight, you can see he's got Sainz. He's going to take to the inside, but Leclerc, we get up far enough that we get side by side, and Leclerc ends up backing out of it and losing 2 positions. And Sainz keeps the same position as he loses 1 and gains 1. That is a double overtake, a beautiful double overtake for Pourchaire. Albon 1.3 ahead. He's got it. He has got it. Verstappen. We are on the backstretch, and we are side by side with Verstappen, and we are going to move past him into P2. Are you kidding me? Final straight, 1 corner to go, and we are coming out of this thing in P1 and P2. A double podium and a victory. Albon claims the win, and Pourchaire hangs on for P2. Verstappen third, Sainz and Leclerc. The Ferraris dropping to 4th and 5th. Bottas, solid finish for the McLaren in 6th. Norris dropping all the way to P8. He went from P4 to P8. Ouch, bad finish for him. Hamilton as well, also flipping his position, dropping to P9 with Alonso wrapping up the points. What a job by both of these drivers. Following that virtual safety car, that was lap 54. It went green just before we started lap 55. 55, 56, 57. 3 laps for us to go from P6 and 8 to P1 and P2. And if not for that virtual safety car, none of that would have happened, because we would have been conserving fuel right up till the end on that one. I mean, right till the end, we would have been conserving fuel. No, you know what? Actually, we were not. We would have been neutral. We had just finished conserving that fuel, and we were coming back to neutral. So, but any overtakes from there, I don't know what we could have done. But what a huge day from the team. Ricardo gets fastest lap in P13, so we lost that one right at the end. He was probably on a fresh set. But that is now P2 and P3 in the standings, with Verstappen leading the way. Albon overtakes Pourchaire 2 points ahead, but we are neck and neck as a team. And 132 points, just 16 behind Red Bull, and miles ahead of Ferrari in 3rd place. And McLaren very strong in P4 right now, with Alpine not scoring today, Alfa Romeo only picking up 1 point, and Mercedes still struggling way down in P7 in the constructors, but only 4 points away from P5. But they are way off the pace this year. And yeah, AlphaTauri, Haas, and Aston Martin all scoring, though Aston Martin, disappointing day as Gasly was in the points all day long. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.